From 12 News, this is Newsmakers.
Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Tim White. Headquartered in Johnston, Citizens Bank is one of the largest companies in Rhode Island and one of the top 20 largest banks in the country. This week on the first half of Newsmakers, my colleague Ted Nesi sat down and spoke with the CEO of Citizens, Bruce Van Saun, about whether the economy will improve in 2021, how the pandemic affected the bank, and Citizens' lucrative partnership with Apple.
Bruce Van Saun, Chairman and CEO of Citizens Financial Group. Thanks so much for joining us virtually today.
My pleasure, Ted.
So it's good to be back. You and I have talked many times over the years about the health of the bank, but certainly never in circumstances like what we're all facing today. So I want to start out asking, as a bank leader, you keep obviously a very close eye on the path of the economy. The trajectory affects your business, affects the people with loans with you and all of that. So I'm curious right now as we speak here, first day of December in 2020, what do you think the outlook is in the coming months, maybe the next 6 months, for both the national economy and the economy here in Southern New England?
Look, I'm optimistic. So I think we've, over the course of the year, we've seen the federal government come to play with a big stimulus package. The Federal Reserve has been big on their monetary boost. And I think as a country, we've learned to adapt to the pandemic and take better precautions. And I think our leaders have learned about the damage of extreme lockdowns. And so we're starting to see all of the economic recovery indicators trend up in the second half of the year. Notwithstanding the recent spike in COVID cases, which can cause a bit of a pause, but still I think we're at relatively much better levels than we were back in March and April. And I think as we look forward, not only do we have a high prospect of further stimulus from the federal government, but we've had massive improvement on the health front in terms of these vaccines and treatments. And so I think we'll see a lot of benefit from that come over the next few months. And so certainly by the middle of next year, I would hope that we're back towards life as we know it. And so that bodes well for economic recovery. So I think we just need to be patient. The next couple of months could be a bit trying, but I think things will look up from there.
A bipartisan group of senators today is out with a new proposed stimulus, $900 billion. Obviously, long way to go before that gets anywhere near being signed into law. But one of the things they proposed is a revival of the Paycheck Protection Program that a lot of small employers used earlier in the year. Do you think, based on your experience with PPP the first time around and knowing your commercial clients, that would be wise to bring that back for this winter?
Look, I think we should have some additional stimulus and investment in small businesses that have suffered the most from the pandemic. So I would have this program be a lot more targeted than the first one, because many businesses now are back on their feet and performing better. But there are segments of the economy, retail, hospitality, entertainment, restaurants for sure, that are still struggling under lockdown restrictions. And the people that work in those industries also are struggling. So to target stimulus that benefits those industries and the people working in those industries makes a lot of sense, and we should get on with it.
Speaking about the impact of the pandemic, I'm sure we could do the whole interview on this question alone, but I'm curious, when you think about your organization, Citizens, what do you think of as the biggest impacts? I don't know if it's in your loan portfolio, if it's on your employees, if it's something else. What has been like the biggest thing for Citizens about going through this experience?
Well, I think it is a testament to our customer centricity and customer focus that I think we really rose to the occasion this year to take really good care of our customers, whether they were corporates that needed some loan modifications, small businesses that needed PPP financing, individuals that needed forbearance or needed some kind of advice. I think our bank really stepped up and made sure we took care of customers and tried to get them through this very challenging period. And I think our leaders did a great job of making decisions in very challenging, stressful times. And so I think it was a good year for us overall, given some of the stresses that we were under.
I believe you have quite a few of your corporate employees working from home right now. I know most large corporations do have at least some swath of their workers doing that. Just as a leader of an organization, do you have in your head a sense of when you hope to have, most of your people back working in the office, or do you think things have permanently changed? I mean, you just built that big new campus in Johnston, so I assume you want to use it eventually when this is all over.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So we've had a 3-phase plan for returning to office. And so we had an invitation plan and then an encouragement phase, and then we have a mandatory phase. We moved through the invitation phase. We're currently in the encouragement phase. In the invitation phase, those office workers, who are about 11,000 of our 18,000 colleagues, the other 7,000 are basically in the branches, and they were coming in all along. But this group probably was at about 15% population coming to the office through the first phase. We got up close to 30, and now with the spike in COVID cases, we're probably traipsing back down towards low 20s. I had hoped by the end of the year that we'd be in a 40 to 50 range. We had surveys earlier than that many people initially said they wanted to come back to the office and they thought it would be safe. But I do think there's a high level of anxiety still, and people have found out that they can work effectively from home and be productive. That can happen for a period, but I think it's not sustainable in the long run. And there's a lot of benefits from working in an office setting. You can basically instill a culture, you can collaborate better, you can mentor young people. There's a reason that office settings have stood the test of time, and they're very popular. So I think we'll ultimately get back to that, but I think we're going to have to await the vaccine. So I actually don't think we'll get above 50% till probably the middle of next year, if I had to guess right now.
And, there are going to be people watching who work for Citizens, I'm sure, when this interview airs. And, people are always nervous about the jobs outlook. It's been, as you said, much more sector-based with where, unfortunately, employment has fallen significantly. But when you look out 12 months, do you have any fear that you're going to have to do any significant job reductions? Could you see hiring? Do you think it's going to be kind of status quo, or is it just too hard to say?
Well, I think what we're finding is that we have to keep positioning ourselves with the skills ready for the future. And so that means acquiring some new skills. We have data scientists joining the company. We have digital software engineers joining the company. And then we also need to provide more advice to customers. And so we have to be upskilling our customer-facing people on the consumer side. So a combination of constant training and upskilling our colleagues so they're ready for the future, plus augmenting that with some additional talent that'll keep us positioned to be successful in the way banking will be done in the future. We are constantly looking to run the bank more efficiently, and so typically we are finding some efficiencies, and sometimes we move those people out of the bank or we can reposition them to other places in the bank. That's been ongoing for the last 5 years. I don't expect the pace of that to change dramatically. So it won't be things that are really palpable, but there will be that ongoing effort to self-fund the things that we need to be successful for the future.
Have to ask about the mortgage market. The interest rates are very low. They look like they will remain low for quite a while based on everything we're hearing out of the Fed and out of Washington. And it's actually can be quite tough for banks when interest rates get squeezed like they are right now. On the other hand, you see huge amounts of activity on the mortgage side of things, refinancing and everything. How does that balance out for Citizens? Is it a net negative because rates have just gotten so low, or is there such volume because of the low rates that it ends up being a positive for the bank?
Well, that's a great question, Ted. And actually, it is a big net positive for us this year. So we had been building up our mortgage business over time organically, recruiting more loan officers. And then we went out and bought a mortgage company, Franklin American Mortgage, which is headquartered in Nashville, back in May of 2018. So now we really have scale in the mortgage business. And one thing is for sure, when rates go down, there's refinancing opportunities. And rates have fallen so far that 3/4 of the country can benefit from refinancing their mortgages. I hope you've been able to do that, Ted. But in any case, we are just keeping up with massive volumes in the refinance side. And then also the purchase market has been strong because of the pandemic. People are rethinking where they want to live and how they want to live. So we've had a very robust mortgage market, and that's helped providing a nice offset to the pressure on spread income from having lower rates. So if you actually look at our performance on a year-to-date basis, our pre-credit provision profit is up 14% year on year, and that's largely because of the strength in the mortgage business.
I always like asking you about how you see the future of bank branches. I saw the recent announcement that you're scaling back some of your supermarket-based branches that you've had for a number of years. And I think you've said to me before that you always think there'll be a place for branches. People want to know that brick and mortar is out there, but it's changing. And you've been talking now a lot about digital first for Citizens in 2021. What's your current thinking on the future of the traditional bank branch versus us doing most, if not almost all of our banking activity online?
Yeah, so I think there's still a very big need for physical branches, and our most satisfied customers use all our channels. So they have occasion to come into the branches, often to get advice. They also use our digital channels, and increasingly through the pandemic, the use of the digital channels is way up. And they also like to able to call in to our contact center. And so what we've tried to do is integrate that service offering so customers can move seamlessly between those channels. On the physical side of the branches, we're probably 5 years into a 10-year program to change those to be more like advice centers and less like transaction centers. And so you see kind of smaller branches, no big teller platforms, more offices, kind of generally nicer appearance. We're going to continue to do that. The supermarket closures that you reference is a very specific situation because we've had a 10-year contract with the Stop and Shop in Rhode Island and Massachusetts that was quite inflexible in terms of our ability to adapt to changing consumer behavior. So we just renegotiated that contract, and we basically took about 40 branches and converted them, or 40 locations, converted them into self-service kiosks where there's an ATM. In some cases, there's also a virtual ability to connect with a live agent. And we kept about 100 as a full service branch within the Stop and Shops. And so it was just making kind of a long overdue adjustment in terms of how we're operating. And in the 40 that have gone to more limited service, there's usually a Citizens full service branch within a mile of that location. So anyway, I think we're all set. We've able to negotiate that contract, get some flexibility. So we feel good about that. But quite honestly, the supermarket branches have performed well throughout the pandemic. People have still come in to go shopping for their food needs, and then often they can kill two birds with one stone and come over and do their banking with us as well.
Anyone, we've talked about this before, but anyone who goes and does the iPhone upgrade program at Apple as they're filling out their paperwork, or I guess typing their paperwork because it's Apple, they see Citizens down there as the company, the bank that provides the financing, which I always thought was a bit of a coup for you guys since there are some big fish in this industry to work with the biggest company in the world. Apple does now have a partnership with Goldman Sachs, a bit of a behemoth in your world of financial services, but you guys are still in there with you. Do you still feel good about that relationship with Apple? Where you're going to get elbowed out by the sharp elbows of Goldman?
Well, I think there's a different thrust with the Goldman relationship for Apple, and that's really around the credit card and linking that to Apple Pay. Our program is very specific for their strategy to distribute more of their phones themselves and get people into the upgrade program. And we've designed that program to be really excellent in terms of the customer experience, and Apple's very happy with us and satisfied with us. So I think we feel good about that relationship. We're working very effectively with Apple, and you're right, it is a coup for our reputation to be partners with the most iconic company on the planet. We've levered that to be able to develop relationships with some other large merchants, and so we have some of the security alarm companies. We have Microsoft with their Xbox program. We have some of the big retailers now as well. So I think there's some real running room in terms of exploiting the trend towards more point of sale financing and working with merchants in terms of how they want to have their customer purchases be financed. And that comes to some extent at the expense of credit cards, but I think we're well positioned to play that going forward.
Last question, Bruce, and I want to bring it back to locally for this one. You're on the board of the Partnership for Rhode Island, a group of big big-time CEOs like yourself, Larry Merlo, although he's going out, CBS, Hasbro. Do you see any role for that organization in the coming, what are almost certainly going to be a couple of tough months for Rhode Island, dealing with the virus and then trying to recover? Have you guys had any discussions about a role you can play in all that?
Yeah, look, we've, I think, done a lot of good as a group, and I feel honored and privileged to be part of that group. We help further agenda around education and transportation and other basic needs business attraction. The area that we're focused on right now is promoting better health outcomes. And so we're going to be announcing within a couple of months some investments targeted towards teachers, students, and their families to help kids feel healthy and safe and be ready for success in the school system. So stay tuned for that.
All right, Bruce Van Saun, Chairman and CEO of Citizens Financial Group. Hopefully next time we talk, we'll be back in person together, but thanks for joining us virtually this time around.
All right, Ted. Good to see you as always.
Good to see you too.
When we come back, Ted Nesi joins me in studio to discuss Governor Gina Raimondo emerging as a finalist for a potential cabinet position in the Biden administration. Stay with us. You're watching Newsmakers. Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Tim White, and I'm alongside my colleague, 12 News Politics editor, Ted Nesi. Ted, we should point out that we are taping this program on a Thursday morning, so what we are about to talk about could really develop in the coming days. But even if news breaks, Ted, that over the weekend say that someone other than Governor Gina Raimondo is picked for Health and Human Services Secretary, you have reported she is a finalist. That's not going to change. And what's clear to me, anyway, in reading your reporting is that the Biden administration really likes her.
Yeah, I think, and frankly, Tim, a bit more than I might have expected after she endorsed Mike Bloomberg over Joe Biden when Joe Biden could have used her last winter. But, you know, memories can be short in politics sometimes. And I think she made an extremely good impression in her interview for vice president earlier this year with the people around Joe Biden. I mean, Alex Burns and Jonathan Martin reported in the New York Times that she dazzled them, which is quite a phrase considering the other people interviewing are also kind of important folks in the world who are good at what they do. So I think that combined with the fact that, you got to remember, just a few years ago, she was one of only 2 women Democratic governors in the country before the 2018 cycle. So there aren't, they want a diverse cabinet. They're looking for women. And the governor stands out to them as someone who has a record, who they think is competent, who's also moderate enough to potentially get through the Senate. So she has all of that put together. Again, as you said, I still think as we sit here Thursday morning, again, it could have changed by then, it's entirely possible he goes with someone else, but there's no doubt in my mind she really is a finalist.
Yeah, and I understand all of what you just laid out in terms of why she, I guess, wowed the Biden administration, but my reaction was, Health and Human Services Secretary? Really? That's the position. We think of her background as finance and business. Why this spot?
Well, I think it's 2 things, a couple of things. First of all, I think, this is seen first and foremost right now as a COVID job, and in a lot of ways a job about state and federal coordination, right? And they figure who better to handle state and federal coordination than someone who already knows the other 49 governors, as a governor herself, has seen the pain points in dealing between the feds and the states over the years on this and all that. She's also perceived as a good manager, and I know for those of us in Rhode Island who are familiar with times maybe her management hasn't gone as well, whether it's UHIP or some other things that haven't gone so great in the administration. I say, what about that? But to them, she does seem like someone who knows how to run a railroad. They like that she came from the private sector and all of that. So I think if it wasn't COVID, I don't know if she'd be getting looked at as close to this, but I think they think a governor could be a good pick. And there's precedent for that. George W. Bush picked Governor Tommy Thompson for this. President Obama picked Governor Kathleen Sebelius of Kansas. So it's not unusual to go for a governor in this job.
You bring up UHIP, and that's, you have to imagine if she is picked, that's going to come up in the confirmation hearings. If she is picked, of course, Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee would take over as governor. But Governor Raimondo isn't the only one who could move up in Washington, Ted. There's a narrow path, I want to stress, for Senator Sheldon Whitehouse to take the Democrats' top spot on the Senate Judiciary Committee. But man, there are a lot of moving parts to this one.
This is actually, at this hour, I would say this is less likely than the governor going to the cabinet is this. But, we have Dianne Feinstein from California. The top Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee is 87. There's been a lot of grumbling about her performance and whether she's really up to the task of such an important committee dealing with Supreme Court justices and all. So she has finally said she's not going to seek to stay as the top Democrat. And that when you look at the succession line, the next person in line would be Dick Durbin of Illinois, but he is already the number 2 Democrat in the caucus. And some folks are saying, wait a minute, should you be allowed to have that important top position on a big committee and be the number 2?
And can you handle it?
And can you handle it all, and can you do a good job? And there's, a lot of Democrats, Senate Democrats, feel like, the Democrats with fewer years there don't get many opportunities. So Sheldon Whitehouse has kind of put his hand up and said, hey, I'm next after Durbin.
Am I wrong, though? Isn't Patrick Leahy a little bit?
He is. Now we're getting real technical. Patrick Leahy also of Vermont is the top position on appropriations, which controls every last dollar of federal spending, so he's not giving that up. So Leahy's out of the picture. So anyway, Sheldon Whitehouse would need the caucus to decide, no, we're not giving it to Durbin, even though he's next in line, which is usually how Democrats operate. But there is some push among progressives to give it to Sheldon Whitehouse. So just an interesting thing and it's very unusual dynamics in the Senate.
Yeah, and let's just kind of wrap up this part of the conversation, in terms of Sheldon Whitehouse and Jack Reed. Their hopes really rely on the state of Georgia, the balance of powers in the hands of the fine residents there. But if that happens, and you put this on Twitter before we walked in studio, there's a scenario where Rhode Island could leverage a lot of power in the new year, just punch above its weight.
Yeah, I mean, again, not likely right now, but if the Democrats win Georgia, if Sheldon Whitehouse shoves Durbin aside, and if Biden picks Raimondo and she gets confirmed, you could have a Rhode Islander.
And Jack Reed.
Well, I was going to say, you could have Rhode Island. Jack Reed's in the best shape if Georgia happens, because he's going to get armed services. You could have a Rhode Islander highly influential on health policy with Governor Raimondo, a Rhode Islander highly influential on military policy with Jack Reed running armed services, and a Rhode Islander highly influential on federal law with Sheldon Whitehouse. Not likely, but interesting for a state of only 1 million people.
Yeah, that is wild. All right, this week we saw a troubling milestone in Rhode Island. The state's 2 field hospitals opened, and as I've previously reported, these hospitals are for patients mainly at the end of their care. So they are on the path of recovery, and the hospitals really need to free up beds for more critical patients. But still, Ted, this is an indication of just how bad things are now in this, I guess we can safely call it a second wave.
Undoubtedly, right? And, Kim Kalunian talked yesterday on 12 News at 4 to some of the folks running these field hospitals, and they describe it as nightmarish to be, housing sick people, recovering, as you said, Tim, but still sick people in the Rhode Island Convention Center downtown. I mean, I believe there were 22 people in the Convention Center Field Hospital last night, Wednesday night. But this shouldn't be a shock to folks. This is we kind of were told over and over by the experts, you were going to see cases go up this fall. Hospitalizations always follow cases, and unfortunately, deaths always follow hospitalizations, and that seems to be where Rhode Island is. Sometimes,
Ted, we're kind of numb to it, and maybe because we work in news, that we get a lot of this information all the time. It is wild to think that we have 2 field hospitals in operation, and I wonder 10 years from now if we're going to look back and go, oh my goodness, that was a crazy time.
I think that's possible. I am a history buff, and I've read a lot of books about World War II, and I think when you're in it day to day, when you read about how folks dealt with that crisis, it's just reality, and you just get through it. Imagine if someone had told us 10 months ago, you and I have our masks next to us as we walk in the studio, we're 6 feet apart. I mean, I think we're all going to be reflecting on this for the rest of our lives.
Just an interesting side note, I don't know if I told you this, but after I filed the story on the lack of staffing at some of these field hospitals, I got several emails from medical professionals like nurses who were out of work, and I connected them with the Lifespan and Care New England, and I've heard back some of them got some jobs, which was kind of interesting.
I heard from a neighbor that her 87-year-old uncle saw our footage of the field hospitals, and he's been a little blasé about the COVID rules. He said, I don't want to go there. I didn't see a TV at the end of the bed. So that's one way to keep people, wearing their masks.
Thank you for watching.
Yes.
All right, let's stick with Lifespan real quick. We have less than 2 minutes here. You reported the pandemic, since we're on this topic, has actually been good for Lifespan's bottom line.
In a way, because so much government aid has been given out to hospitals, especially Lifespan, which again, remind people of Lifespan is Rhode Island Hospital, Miriam, Newport, and Bradley. Lifespan has had, I think, over 80% of COVID patients in Rhode Island have been in a Lifespan hospital at last check. And so to the extent that COVID aid has been targeted at hospitals that have been disproportionately affected by COVID patients, a lot of money, I think it's nearing $200 million between federal and state appropriations has gone to Lifespan, and that actually put them back in the black, which is quite a change. I talked to their CEO, Tim Babineau, in April, and he was extremely worried about their financial outlook. So that's a big change. But, they're the number 2 group, Care New England, which is operating another field hospital. That's Women and Infants, Kent and Butler. Not as easy for them to figure this out because that money has not been targeted at specialty hospitals, and their big hospitals are Women and Infants for Women and Infants, and Butler, which is psychiatric. So they unfortunately are reporting a pretty sizable loss this week. I'm posting that story when we get back out of the studio. And so, the stability of the hospitals and whether those two merge, because remember they're talking about merging, I think that's going to be a big 2021 story. One of the many effects of the pandemic, secondary effects of the pandemic.
All right. Well, look, we're out of time. I did want to talk about a story that our colleague Eli Sherman had posted on the PPP loans, but I urge you to go to our website, WPRI.com. He broke down the businesses that received nearly $2 billion in these loans, and some of them received as much as $9 million. I want to thank you for watching. For Ted Nesi, I'm Tim White. We will see you next week on Newsmakers.